this is the time of year where it's, you know, we're still in the spring season, but we're starting to shift. And even if you're in the southern hemisphere in the fall season, it's starting to shift. The seasons are starting to shift. And there's just a lot of very auspicious energy on the planet. There's a lot of symbolism in the numerology of like 5-1 that, you know, human beings, we respond to these symbols. In if we have an understanding of what these symbols represent, we can really tap into this energy. And it's really an energy of manifestation. And I think anybody on a conscious, you know, I hate to say awakening, because we're all awake. We might be sleeping while we're awake, and we might be awake while we're sleeping, but we're all human. And as a physiologist, I sometimes just get like a little when people are like woke or like you're on a spiritual awakening journey. It's like, well, you know, you're human, you're maneuvering a physical body. It's got a heartbeat, you're breathing, you got the breathing apparatus going, you're awake. Whether or not you're on a spiritual journey is up to you. But for those folks who are really interested in this kind of opportunity to wield all the energy that's actually available as a human being so that you can feel not only vital, but you can feel what it's like to take in this energy so that you can have the stamina to accomplish what you've been put here for. And I think that's been like you and I was talking about, it's like our biggest fear, even personally, is like I'm not gonna have enough energy. I'm gonna run out of energy. And that energy could mean money, it could mean like the actual wherewithal to do the work required to carry out a big vision, to just feel like I'm not going to be able to cross the finish line. I'm gonna burn out. And it's a real fear. It's a real fear because we're all afraid of like that, oh my God, I'm going to be annihilated. I'm going to be just erased from the planet because I'm out of energy. It's like sudden death. So if you're interested in how to wield all the energy that's actually available, you start to see, oh my goodness, I could never, ever, ever run out of energy. It's always in circulation. It is always available. It is so abundant that it's beyond what our brains can actually understand in any kind of cerebral way. However, as a scientist, we also know that inside our bodies are these 3 systems that allow us to transform energy on a dime, literally on a dime. And we can do that in a really efficient way, or we can do that in like a not so efficient way. And that's what this is about, giving a person a dossier where they can understand, oh, okay, it's May. And May is the 5th month according to the Gregorian calendar. And 5 is an energy of action. It's the editor. It represents like what in my life needs to get cut because it's a distraction. And what can I take action on that is in alignment with what I'm here to do? And when I'm doing those line actions, I actually feel good. And in the body, it is actually creating a more efficient transfer of energy so that basically you can run longer and demand less of your body. And that's ideal. It's called steady state. And when you're operating in steady state as a physiologist, it's like it's a sweet spot as a human where it's like all systems are go, like I have enough fuel to sustain whatever it is I'm doing. And if I need to switch it up, I got this. And when you're like not in fight or flight, freaked out, and your nervous system is like all chewed up, then you actually have the clarity and the quote unquote peace of mind to make executive decisions and again manifest.
Yeah.
So every season has its special opportunities every month. And what I say month, I mean, it's really a lunar cycle, but May 1st is kind of significant in many traditions. And we're just coming through that now. So it was fun yesterday just doing the dossier for our agency, for Elite Mystique Agency, and running that through our system. And basically, it's really just looking at, okay, in a very pragmatic way, what does the month ahead look like? What are my intentions for myself in all 4 areas of my life, which include basically your business / career / prosperity, your relationships / love, your health / physique / body, your environment / soul / spirituality, and what are you intending for the month, right? Or really like in a lunar cycle, you set your intentions in the new moon, and a couple weeks later in the full moon, you shed what isn't serving you, and then you do it again. So it can be very pragmatic. But then you say, okay, if these are my intentions, it's so easy to write them down, put them on a piece of paper. Okay, that's what I want. And then you're kind of like running your company, running your household, running your relationships on autopilot based on all those, thoughts that you've been running in your head that create those behaviors. And then at the end of the lunar cycle, it's like, yeah, I did intend to do this thing and I didn't do it. Or I started it and I didn't finish. And then you kind of like, you start to judge yourself or continue to judge yourself or feel bad. And that's really depleting in your energy. And that's what it all comes down to, right? This is all about how you get to optimize the way you consume, utilize, maintain, transfer, and share energy, circulation. So we just basically look at a couple of opportunities. We look at the energetic anatomy that is the human in a more esoteric sense. So we have 10 bodies that give us, it's like the etheric anatomy.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives us portals to, again, scoop up the energy that's available on the planet within the Earth's electromagnetic field, and then how the Earth is aligned with the other planets in our solar system, because everything emits a frequency, including us. So the 10 bodies, you have your radiant body, which is really like the frequency, the emanation of what you radiate, your radiance, right? How you shine. So obviously right there, that's a no-brainer. You have more energy, you shine brighter. You have more energy, you emanate more powerfully, you emit a higher frequency. The higher the frequency, the more light it is. And I won't go through all 10 bodies, but just kind of like, as we were talking about yesterday, I was like, I intuit, like, what is it? Knowing that it's a 5 calendar month, and 5 is red, hot, Mars, take action, edit, cut, and just move forward in a really powerful manifesting kind of way. Like it's supercharged, energetic kind of feeling. And I was like, okay, so what am I intuiting for you and I, right? For our business, how do we get to show up and really serve our way? How do we get to show up and serve the other areas of our life in the best way? So I landed on physical body for us, which was so cool because the physical body is the 5. Each of the 10 bodies has a number associated with it in numerology. And the physical body is 5. Love that, right? Just felt so harmonious. So what can we do? This is so exciting to somebody like me when I know that it's interesting to the person receiving it, right? It's not for everyone, nor would I even want it to be. I want this to land with the people who are like, yeah, give me more. Like, I want to be able to wield this 5 symbol and align it with my physical body and have that power, have that resource to be able to say, yeah, I'm saying no this month. I'm saying no to that project because it's not in alignment. And I have the courage to cut that from my life because it's not serving me. I'm saying no to this person. I'm cutting this person from my life, maybe just energetically cutting a tie because it's a distraction. It's keeping me down and I feel the depletion of that. And that comes right back into the physical body. What does the physical body require this month? And how can I support these energy systems in optimizing and becoming really, really efficient so that I can go the distance, right? So again, like this conversation is not for everybody, but it is for any human who's interested in like the long game and playing big and playing, playing for keeps, I'll say, because we're gonna do these things and we're gonna leave the legacy behind, right? And it's so much bigger than us and one human. We're in this all together. However, not to sound like self-important, but when we do this kind of work on ourselves, just the work alone uplifts the planet. Because again, if you're able to be strong in your physical body and you're working on your vibrational fitness throughout all 10 bodies, everybody you touch without even opening your mouth is going to feel that. And again, we all radiate a frequency. And if your frequency is high and light, you share that with everyone and everything you come in contact with. And that's the long game, right? That's the long game. I won't even get into all that. But so 5, physical body. I was calling that in for us. And just simple recommendations, like, being able to, in the yogic tradition, we say, set your navel point every day. What does that mean? I mean, in a pragmatic sense, it's like, do some core work. I will make one specific suggestion. Doing some core exercise before you even get out of bed in the morning. So the very first thing you do after you open your eyes, and maybe, you do some breath work in bed, you meditate in bed, but before you actually plant your lower body, you set that navel point. So it's great because, core work in bed, it's pretty doable. So I'm a fan of stretch pose, which is a classic yoga posture, and just setting that navel point. And when you do that, you instantly lock into your creativity, your power. You know, this is the belly, right? It's where everything comes from. So it's very powerful in terms of setting your entire physical body. I didn't realize it was going to be so windy, but I'm moving my body right now because I felt it was super appropriate for this. So hopefully it's not too windy. And then what else are we looking at? So we're looking at the energetic anatomy, and then we're looking at the tattvas. And the tattvas are the 5 elements, right? The 5 elements: earth, air, wind, fire, ether. And again, according to yogic science. And we as humans are part of these elements. These elements are part of us. There is no beginning, there is no end. We are not separate from the elements. Everything is elemental. And when we are living in that elemental space, it's elementary. It's basic. This is before personality. This is before, you know, intellectual thought. This is who we are as life force. Every life force has, again, within it and around it, the elements. So how we utilize these elements, both within and without, obviously gives us a tremendous amount of power, of energy. And so, again, I won't get into the details of each of the 5 tattvas and what they actually do with regard to the relationship within the human, within the physiology of the human, and then the cosmos, the bigger picture, right? The macro organism of the solar system, and how these elements play a part in our vitality. So I intuited this month, I was like, oh, Earth, this came right up. Earth, how do we wield Earth, the Earth element? And the Earth element really, it is kind of what it says, right? It's about knowing that you are sustained, and also just being anchored into the knowing that you have everything that you require. And it gives you a sense of safety. It gives you a sense of inner peace. It gives you a sense of, I don't require anything externally. I can wield this earth power from within myself. I mean, even just saying that, it's like, whoa, wow. And tapping into that, it's a manifestation energy, Earth. It's being grounded. And so that's one of the suggestions, is grounding every single day. Just taking, 30 seconds minimum, right? Up to however many minutes you feel you love, and just put your bare feet on the earth, right? Whether it's the sand, whether it's dirt, grass, even if it's concrete, sometimes I've had to do that, just being in Manhattan. But putting your bare feet in contact with the earth, and preferably it being in nature, because you get this wonderful electron transfer. And what the heck does that mean? I mean, literally, can you imagine, as a world leader, you can literally change the entire trajectory of your company, your business, your prosperity, whatever it is you're calling in, your team, by doing this one thing in the morning. And having your body literally like it's an intercourse with the earth. So your magnetic field and the earth's magnetic field are going to have a relay. You are actually transferring electrons. Now, this is just physics, and you do this all the time, but when you have this electron transfer and you're able to literally pick the magnetism up from the earth and have an exchange. It's like, I always call it like the energetic reset. It just like resets your whole system. It just cleanses you out, juices you up. It's a power, it's a reboot, and then you're good to go. Again, clean, clear, and you may be feeling like completely wobbly or wonked out, or your emotions may be running in a commotional way. When you do this, you can start to literally elevate above your own commotion. It doesn't necessarily go away, but you're anchored in, right? Earth, just feeling like, I love to say this to clients, the whole world could go to shit, but not fill in your name, right? And of course, we don't want the whole world to go to shit, but it's a great mantra because it's like, I'm locked, I'm grounded, I'm clean, I'm clear, and I can move forward. I can march on into this day and accomplish what I set out for, even if I feel really emotional. So it's a practice. And the tattvas are, again, how you wield your elements. I mean, again, this isn't for everyone, but I say, I mean, not believing in the power of these things is like not believing in the power of your left hand. Like, you could live without it, of course, but if you have both, why would you? If that left hand is available for use, why would you not use it, right? So the last thing that I like to focus on in kind of a lunar cycle / monthly dossier is your chakra, right? So we've got a lot of chakras. Most folks that have some knowledge of the chakra system typically say 7 chakras. We work with 8 in yogic science. However, in just writing dossiers for clients and companies, I work with 7 because I keep it pretty straightforward, pretty easy. We want this to be pragmatic. And so this month for us, I called in solar plexus, right? Go figure. So it's like a lot of overlap when I quiet down and just intuit what's required. It just is always fascinating to me how very connected it all is. Again, it's just about energy circulation. That is the simplest way I can put all of this. How are you going to use all the energy you have available, which is so abundant? It's absolutely limitless. And yeah, we have a finite amount of it in kind of what we think, but we can totally alter that X factor. We never run out. So solar plexus is the chakra kind of right at that belly button, right above that belly button. It is a chakras are basically like energy points throughout the body. Now, we don't necessarily know that they're exactly where we say they line up anatomically, like on the physical body, but we just get a sense. And I find when working with like clients and patients, it's fun to know, oh, this is where that chakra is. But we can't, I mean, the energy, the way it aligns according to the spine and the way that our nervous system is set up. You know, when you have a chakra system that's spinning, your endocrine function is harmonious, your circulatory function is harmonious, everything just becomes really harmonious, and your sensory input goes way up. You just become a vital, sensual human that is experiencing deep contentment, even in the shit, even in the chaos that this world can present for us. So solar plexus, our creativity, it's also our willpower. So again, like 5, right? The 5 energy, the Mars, the I'm taking action, I'm saying no to things that don't serve me. This is willpower. And willpower is a lot about divine will, the relationship with the divine, surrendering to what the divine is actually showing us is here for us. And then our free will to take advantage of it. So really solar plexus for us and representing our company and the efforts and the goals that we have on the docket for the month. Like, yeah, you know, how much more can we tap into our creativity? And how can we support that? And I love to give some nourishment for the chakra. So if you imagine the chakra system, it's like each chakra is its own kind of energetic wheel. And that wheel is spinning in a very specific direction. And it's giving off a frequency that is setting all of the vital organs and systems of the body in a very harmonious, rhythmic experience of life. And when your wheels are spinning in this way, and that's become a cliche saying, right? The wheels are spinning. It feels good. It just feels good. And the more that you work with tapping into your chakra system, the more aware you become of when it isn't feeling good. And you can get right in there and nourish it. And this is part of, you know, what we do is really helping folks identify not just, okay, where do we feel a little off? Where are we feeling depleted? How is this energy leaking? And what do we get to do to plug it up? There's nothing wrong. Nothing ever needs to get fixed. The human is just a magnificent organism. But depending on how we're taking in sensory input from the world that is full of polarity and chaos, can sometimes weigh on us. And I won't get into details of a lot of that. That's a conversation for another day. But basically, solar plexus. Let's nourish our solar plexus. Let's amp up our creative energy this month. So, you know, it's chamomile. I said pineapple. I mean, pineapple is just such a magical fruit. And it has analgesic properties, which is basically like a mild pain reliever and inflammation reducer. So why would that help solar plexus chakra? Because when you're inflamed or you're experiencing pain, it definitely weighs on your creativity. It's hard to be creative when you have like a toothache, right? So we're just kind of blanket affecting our bodies by upping the dose of natural analgesic, and pineapples definitely provide that. So that's just one of a few things. So I like to, you know, incorporate some nutrition. We incorporate some movement. We incorporate some meditation. We incorporate some, you know, deeper physical training. We incorporate mindset work. We incorporate spiritual teachings. And that sets up the month. So that is what a dossier looks like when you personally and your company get one.
When we're talking about the 5 elements, how do we know which one really aligns with who we are, which one is dominant, and how do we know when we're out of that alignment?
It's a great question. It's definitely a much deeper question. So we can use Ayurvedic tradition, Ayurvedic medicine, or we can use traditional Chinese medicine. They're very similar. There are some nuances. So depending on, you know, what really, I have background in a little of both, and I love that I do, because I find that something will resonate with somebody. And again, it's like We just get to pull all of these resources to what's going to help exalt the human. So the tattvas, because we're working with some yogic science, let's just say in Ayurvedic medicine, we look at the human and we identify what dosha this person has. And a dosha is basically like your constitution, your makeup. In allopathic medicine, we've kind of like I find we've taken the sexiness out of it. A dosha, your constitution, it sounds sexy, right? It's like, ooh, so you could be pitta, you could be vata, you could be kapha. And in Western medicine, we've just kind of like taken it into like, what's your BMI? Like what's your height weight ratio, and all these things that actually don't really incorporate the full constitution of the human. Like, but what is a constitution? It's like your bony structures, how dense your bones are, how much muscularity you have, how tall you are, how fair or dark your skin is, the composition of your skin. Is it dry? Is it oily? Your hair, is it thick and full? Is it thin? Is it full? Is it thin and fine? All of these things make up your constitution. How your gut works. Are you regular? Are you constant? All of these things. So it's very complex. But it basically kind of goes into these three categories: pitta, vata, or kapha. And within those, so let's say, for example, your constitution gives, and everybody is all three, by the way. But like you just said, you could be dominant in one. So let's say you're a pitta, and pitta is fire. So pitta has the fire element. So if your constitution is more, muscular, tendency to perhaps be heavier rather than thinner, if you are, you kind of anger easily, but also love very passionately, it's fire, right? It's fire. Like you get pissed, you want to like blow shit up, right? And so everyone again is all things, but if you are a pitta and you're feeling emotionally very anxious, very angry, very easily agitated all the time, one might say you're over, your pitta is up, right? You're over. So what can we do to balance it? We want to bring in some cooling. So cooling foods, nothing cooked, nothing hot, nothing spicy. We want to bring in some water. We want to bring in some air. So we work with those elements regarding your dosha, your natural constitution. And then if you're like swinging out of balance one way or the other. Does that make sense?
Completely. Love it. Thank you.
Yeah. And then again, with regard to those 5 elements, see, we could get into a whole thing on this. So if we look at traditional Chinese medicine, each of the elements represents a season. So we're in spring right now, right? And so spring is about the kidneys. It's kind of it's air, right? And that makes sense. It's very windy in the spring. And the air is changing from cold to warmer right here in areas of the world where it is spring. That's what's happening now. There's a lot flying through the air. And so we understand this element is kind of in favor, in rule. So what can we do as humans to wield it, but also kind of work with it in a more harmonizing way, right? So we know it's very windy. What can we do? We can wear scarves to protect our neck. It's funny, we're all masked these days. So that does it. The one good thing about masks right now is it does help with the pollen. So maybe some less less histamine response going on right now. That'll be an interesting study. So you can work with the elements with regard to the season, right? So it's so deep. There's so much that is available to us as human beings, and that's really what gets me jazzed up. It's like, oh, it's not this three-dimensional experience. It's so much more. And even though we're in this three-dimensional experience, we can play with so much more. We can just enhance our vitality, our creativity, our sensuality, and ultimately our prosperity. And it's really just child's play. And the coolest thing about the physiology is that you are your own laboratory. You are your own self-experiment. I say that to clients all the time, like, let's just create a self-experiment. You are your own lab. You have everything in you. And when you start to tune into that, even just the simple practice of tuning inward gives you massive amounts of energy. You feel awesome. You feel in command of your ship, right? That inner relationship creates inner sovereignty. And you fortify that with all that you can tune into. And then again, it comes back to what I said, like the whole world could go to shit, but not Dianne Sykes. Great spiritual teaching. So yeah, I could go off on a whole tangent with that. But the elements, the elementals, your elemental self, right? Elementary, that word elementary comes from elements.
You
It's
know,
the most basic part of life.
and one of the things that I really love in your own philosophy and your own approach to this, you're one of the few people that have always said there is no broken humans, there's nothing to be fixed, there's nothing that's missing, we are all whole and wholesome. It just comes down to how are we using what we have, and how are we mastering, how are we prioritizing what supports us.
Yep. Yep. And again, we have free will, right? I mean, we have free will. So it's always going to be a choice. Like, you get to decide what, you do you, what fuels you, what depletes you. And then you make your choice. Like, we're not here, certainly as mentors, saying like, you have to do this and shame on you if you don't. Like, we've all been subject to and perhaps still are in our own self-made prisons of that whole experience, right? And that's so much of what the education system gives us, is that, no, you are broken and we need to fix you. You did this wrong and now you need to correct yourself. Well, what human is right?
Exactly.
Let that self-righteous one come forth, right? With all of her perfection.
Exactly. And that's the key to the work that we do at Elite Mystique Agency. It's
Yep.
literally empowering individual to, in a way, remember who they are in the essence, helping them kind of unlearn all that has been put on them, so that moving forward they can really thrive in their glorious, powerful, unique, their own way in all areas of their life, in anything that they do. Like you said, peak existence, peak performance redefined.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Because it's again, you like, it's just like the five senses. Like, my experience of what sriracha sauce tastes like is going to be an entirely unique experience to me and my taste buds, and how I'm receiving that, and whatever thought forms I have about it, whatever karma I've got around it, whatever lineage I have, whatever my ancestry has, and whatever my practice has been with experiencing sriracha, right? And you could taste the exact same spoon of sriracha and have an entirely different experience, and actually have an entirely different biochemical response to it. See, this is what's so fascinating. So the two of us could sit down and I could eat the hot sauce and I could just be like, boom, this is awesome. This is delightful. I want more. You could have one little touch on your taste bud and your entire face goes beet red. You start sweating. You need to drink a cup of milk instantly and you don't recover for 3 hours. Because your entire body is just like went into a complete response, right? Same stimulus. Why did two humans have such an entirely different response? It's not just the thoughts that one of us has about sriracha. It's an actual physiological experience of that. So for me to tell you, "Ooh, Sarah, you have to have sriracha because you need the cayenne is really good for you." And you're like, no, it's actually not. Yeah, well, yeah, it is. It's good for your joints. You need it. Well, how could I tell you that? Especially if I'm not paying attention to what you are saying, you're reporting, your responses. And the beauty of this work is that there's infinite combinations of experiences, foods, recipes, exercises. Like there's no shortage of possible combinations of things that we can do as humans to make ourselves feel even more amazing. And if there's some part of us that we feel isn't up to its genetic potential, then we can determine that and seek resources to help us optimize it. That's all it is. And it's like you just want optimal human experience. Okay, it doesn't mean that there's some sort of perfect, this is what perfect humans look like, act like, talk like. This is what perfect humans do for a living. Like that, there's no such thing. However, what does it feel like to live in a state of peak existence for you? And then how do you just go about being better than you were yesterday? How do you go about being as excellent as you can be? That's a you and you game. And when you get into that space, as leaders do, it's stepping into that mastery. It's like, wow, I'm not here to impress anybody else. I'm here to impress myself. And the more that I impress myself, the better I feel, the more radiant I am, the more I emanate what I'm here for and share that with the planet. And the more we do this together, it's this beautiful interdependence that we're working in together. We're in commune.
It is so fascinating. At the time of this recording, you're in New York City. I'm sitting on the deck at our backyard at home. And around me right now are crows, which in this part of the neighborhood we don't see
Oh,
often.
auspicious. Ah,
Exactly. And you know what? I just Googled it up because I'm, like I said, sitting here at a computer recording this, listening at awe at all the magic that you are conveying. And yeah, the first meaning of a crow, life magic, mystery of
yeah.
creation.
Mhm. That, yeah, crows represent the magic of intelligence, like the magic of
Exactly.
information.
Exactly. I was like, well, thank you. And I think that kind of would be, could be a perfect conclusion to this training, unless there's
Yes.
something else that's emerging through you and needs to be
Uh-uh.
shared.
I think this was delightful. Thank you. Thank you so much for like being my partner and my girl and my sister, but also just being somebody who is a shining example of a leader who's super interested in this. And this is what we get to do. And taking, like what we do in Elite Mystique Agency is like the physiology and the mysticism here and putting it into the pragmatics of like every day. And so your ability to take this information and put it into practical application right? It's the daily practice of these things and how it looks like going into a boardroom, and how it looks like at the end of the lunar cycle when you're like, okay, what intentions did we set for the business and did we get them done? And all of the details of being able to integrate your physical and energetic anatomy in a state of peak existence and emanating that into, it could be even just leading your own household.
Exactly, and that's another layer to all of that. We talk about business, and I credit you for coining the expression here. It's not just the business that somebody's creating in order to either create an income for themselves, to create jobs, to sell ultimately. It's business of home, it's business of wellness, it's business of life, it's business of relationships.
Yeah,
Uh, and those global leaders, they are called to not only kind of juggle and manage, but literally thrive and master all of these different aspects in ways that is unique to them. That's why we start the work with those dossiers that are personalized to each individual. Just like you said, there's so many different combination that it comes down to finding the one that works for them in any particular intersection of time and space. And what
yeah,
has worked last year might not be the same, will not be the same compared to what will work next year. And that's why we're here.
absolutely. And being able to take all of these things, and that's what a visionary is. Like a visionary, visionaries see around the corner of time, see through matter into space, and bend time and space to shape that vision into matter, into reality, right? And yeah, bring it back home. Five energy. This is manifestation right here. That's really what manifestation is. The visionary's ability to just bend time and space and shape that vision into reality.
So good.
How do you do that without being vibrationally fit? You can't really. And vibrationally fit is going to look different for everyone. Because like I may require a lot of sriracha because I'm vata and I'm cool, so I need hot, right? See, it's so easy, really. And that works for me and that makes me feel good right now. And I'm going to do the thing that makes me feel good. And that's, like I spent 25 years as a physiologist. People say, okay, what's my exercise prescription? What's my diet plan? What's my, you know, well, it's not one size fits all.
Exactly. Exactly. And at this point, I think that's a conversation for a whole other time. If we talk
Absolutely.
specifically athletes, you know,
Yes.
a lot of us have started with this one size fits all, but then at a certain point, you no longer do what the whole team does because what you
You
are
can't.
requiring
Yeah.
in order to carry the team will be very different.
Oh, elite athletes. I mean, yeah, that is an awesome segue to another conversation in us being elite athletes and then working with elite athletes. The customization that they require. I mean, the elite athletes that we work with demand demand a deeply customized mentorship because they have reached a level where it is like, well, I am elite for a reason. I am the top 0.01% of humanity with regard to my physical prowess. So what they have been in daily devotion to in order to bring the physical body to that absolute maximal genetic potential requires maximal support. And any elite athlete who is not giving that to themselves, who is not investing in themselves in this kind of way, is, to be blunt, heading for challenge. Heading for challenge, whether that be emotional, spiritual, or physical, or all three.
Exactly. And from our own experiences in a multitude of ways, that challenge perhaps might not be, it's not always resulting in the numbers on a scoreboard or a stopwatch, for example. Those challenges come up in most unexpected, in most unpredictable ways, sometimes
Yeah.
years after the active career.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. In many ways, more often, and that's very close to home for both of us. Just how an athlete can, again, take the magic that created such incredible physical and mental and spiritual, in most cases, ability in one very specific sport way, one very specific way. And how do you then take that and transfer it to another aspect of life? And
Absolutely.
that's, a question for a great conversation.
Yes, definitely to be continued. Diane, thank you so much for
Thank you, Sarah.
energy flow plan and breaking down a dossier and just the magic that you exude and that you are. Thank you.
I love you, sister.